Hello everyone, welcome to our Wednesday Q&A. I'm Eric Griffin, President of ITM Trading. With me I have LYNETTE ZANG, our Chief Market Analyst. For those of you who don't know or tuning in for the first time, we take your questions submitted to us at questions@itmtrading.com, emailed to us at questions@itmtrading.com, and then we put them here on a one sheet. We ask them to her live, and she has not seen any of these questions, so you get a real live organic response. And we're moving quick today, so there's no live questions today. We're going to be boom, boom, boom. All right, so Susan, and real quick, the ITM spammer, the person who copies our name and our avatar, is very active. We're trying to stay on top of, but it's just constant. So if you see a fake comment with a WhatsApp number and you should invest in cryptos and call me, it's a scam. I've called them myself. It's a scam. So just report it. Flag it and report it as a spam thing, and it'll help us to hopefully help mitigate it.
I hope so.
Oh, it's frustrating. All right, Susan asks, what will be the effect of the IMF's increase in the special drawing rights? It seems like they created a new layer of money out of thin air.
Indeed they did, Susan, and it's not so much the short-term effect, because what they're doing is they're just creating massive amounts of liquidity as we really, frankly, walk through or walk into the global financial system reset. So it's not really going to likely have any kind of immediate effect. It is really more just like they did in 2009 to create more liquidity in the system because the system was seizing up. That's what this extra layer is on the SDRs. And for those that aren't familiar with it, the IMF is the International Monetary Fund, and its members are all Treasury secretaries and central bank chiefs. And the SDR, the special drawing rights, is the IMF's currency that was originally created to take over as the world reserve currency. It was created in '69 to take over as the world's reserve currency from the US dollar. But because of the petrodollar, they didn't. However, that shift is occurring, and as you guys know, or those that have been listening to me for a while, I do think that the SDR will be the new world reserve currency because it's composed of a basket of currencies, where right now there's 6 of them, but they can put everybody's currency in there and basically create a universal money. So by creating this new extra reserves and giving them out, because that's what they do, they just give out these special drawing rights, it does help sop up some extra currency that's out there for China and the US, etc., because those are part of the SDR basket. But I think it's more getting into a position to make the transition than anything else.
Right now, they can't use, no country can really use the SDR. They mostly just use it to bolster their balance sheet in order to be able to get better lending rates and knowing that the IMF's backing them, correct?
Right, and so that's really about that liquidity,
right.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so John K. asks, do you think they will try to reset the currency against SDRs instead of gold?
No, because they have to burn off the rest of the debt, and the SDR would take over as that new currency. Rather, what they're more likely to do, John, is use the substitution fund that was created. So if you're holding dollars or dollar-denominated assets, it's hard for me to call them assets, but like bonds or things like that, you make a deposit into this substitution fund, and then the IMF goes ahead and converts those dollar-denominated assets and instruments into SDR-denominated assets or instruments. And in theory, then the IMF can regulate the speed that the dollars then end up coming back to here, and therefore, I don't think this is really ultimately going to happen, but whether or not the level of inflation that the dollars coming back to the U.S. would then create. So no, they won't reset the currency against SDRs. History tells us that they reset it against gold because they have to burn off all of the debt excesses in all of the currencies that make up that SDR basket.
Doesn't mean, though, that they couldn't switch try to delay before the reset, try to
totally.
switch into the SDRs, the world reserve currency, before we, because I remember you were talking about.
Anything is possible, but I think that's more what the CBDCs are about, to delay more than actually, because I know some people think that, oh, well, once we go into the central bank digital currencies, well, that's the reset and then it'll be over. No, because a full reset requires, then they have to be fiscally responsible, and they need a component of gold in the SDR, which they've talked about quite a bit, but they need a component of gold in there to instill that confidence. So they couldn't really reset. That'd be like resetting the dollar against the dollar if they reset it against the SDR, which makes absolutely zero sense. But I think the CBDCs are more about trying to postpone the full reset to finish burning off all that debt.
So you think that rather, because we used to, back in the day, before we were actually on YouTube, we used to talk about how that we thought it was going to go SDR. So you think
ultimately, I still think that.
Yeah. So you think central bank digital currencies is first play, then possibly the SDR play after the fact.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, I don't know, and especially since this is a global issue instead of a local issue, I don't know how many times they're going to try and tell us that they're doing the reset, but actually not really do the reset, because after they've done the real reset, behavior must change. It must change. And so, if they're still trying to kick the can down the road, they're not trying to change any behavior. They can't use up the value of the SDR as the world reserve currency as they're trying to get rid of that debt, if that truly is where they're going. And I still do think that that's where they're going, because it gives them the most control.
All right, so Vicky asks, we've got some money in gold and silver, have some cash in the bank, but the majority of our savings is in IRAs and 401ks that we don't need to touch for 5 to 6 years. We thought about moving some of this money into precious metals IRAs. We know it's not out of the system, but with all things considered, is this better than nothing?
Well,
you don't like this question? This is
well,
definitely
because
something
you know what? This is a fence
know.
question. I know.
Yes.
It's a fence question. It is, maybe what's happening is not really happening. And look around. I mean, everything should tell you that it's happening. There's just way too much insanity. So is this better than nothing? Well, I don't know that it's better than nothing for a few reasons. I mean, it might be better than having it in stocks, but if you still have it vulnerable, and it is vulnerable to confiscation, which, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I can't say that one way or the other, but history tells us they will. And I don't even have to go back really far history. So I think they will. So what are they going to do? They're going to go in and they're going to take your gold, and they're going to leave you fiat dollars, and you tell me how you would be better off. If you are absolutely convinced that they have your best interest at heart, and that those 401ks and those IRAs and the stock market and the bond market and the currency markets are actually going to exist in the current form, rock and roll hoochie coo. I mean, what can I tell you? I know what I believe because of all the research and how much I have lived in this arena, and I don't have an IRA. I don't have it. I don't have a 401k. I don't have those fiat money products. The other thing is, they will suppress the price of gold until it benefits them not to suppress the price of gold. Now, let's assume for a moment that they don't do an overt confiscation, and therefore you actually get to hold your gold through the reset. And it goes up 3.5 million%. They're going to tax you. They're going to take it away through, taxation. You think taxes aren't going up? So, you have to decide for yourself. I can't make that decision for you.
So what's the point of holding gold then?
Well, it's the kind of gold that you hold.
Okay.
Okay? So
I'm just asking because
that's what they're going to ask.
Yep.
But you asked it inside of the 401k or the IRA.
Right.
And
but
that makes
people
it
are
different.
going to be tuning in for the first time or new to the channel, and they're going to be going, what is she talking about? She buys gold. She loves gold.
I do.
And the things that you just said, oh, they're going to take it.
Because the only thing that you can do inside of an IRA is monetary gold.
Which is,
your American Eagles and your Canadian Maple Leafs. So anything that was
bullion,
the
gold
new
coins,
stuff, bullion,
and
gold
bars.
Coins. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So if you go into the IRS website and you see the kind of gold that is all standardized, that you cannot hold inside of your IRA, that's what I own. I don't own that other stuff, as you well know.
Yeah.
As you well know.
And a lot of our viewers do, but I wanted to make sure that you clarified that for people who are new to the channel.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You've got to have gold, because gold and silver, you've got to have both. But this monetary metals are most likely to be the only way that you're going to be able to really weather this storm and sustain your standard of living, let alone put you in a position to take advantage of what's happening with the other income producing assets. But, if they do indeed do an overt confiscation
of bullion,
then you're not going to be able, even because I've had a lot of people say, well, I just won't turn it in. Number one, we would never recommend that you go against the letter of the law, ever. And all good citizens always pay all taxes that are due. But there are ways historically that have proven to be a better store of value and, frankly, are also more undervalued, and they're more private. So go to the IRS website and you'll see the kind of gold that you cannot hold inside of an IRA, which means it is not monetary gold, and that's what I buy for myself.
Because we gotta move quick.
We gotta move quick.
So I wanted to say, I'll just say, if you want to know more about the type of gold and silver that she's talking about, you can call us, talk to any of our precious metals consultants. They'll be happy to help you. All right, Michael P. asks, you talk about playing the cup formation,
right?
And then investing on the other side. What is the best way to sell precious metals if you hold them or store them in an IRA?
Oh, this is an IRA question. See, I didn't read this. What is the best way to sell precious metals if you hold them or store them in an IRA? Well, you have a couple of choices with that. Mm-hmm. Because the cup formation, when you see that cup formation, it's not so much on the other side as it is when the big players start to very quietly invest. That's when we'll start to see that. If you're holding it in an IRA, you're going to have two different options. You can liquidate them inside of the IRA and take the fiat, or you can have them ship you the metals. So it kind of depends on how quickly, because obviously shipping the precious metals would take more time to you, because then you would still then have to ship them somewhere to liquidate them. So,
well, you can always just call the precious metals dealer that sold them to you, and because they'll be the broker of record with the IRA, and you can liquidate them through that company, and then the funds will be distributed to your IRA custodian, and the custodian can then distribute the funds to you, back to you, and then you can use that to play in investing on the other side of them, on the
or as we see this cup formation develop. And since that's something I talk about regularly, you'll be able to watch it evolve when we see for sure that we've got a cup formation happening.
All right. So James asks, why has gold why has gold not gone up in times like this? This is the perfect environment for gold to rise, and it hasn't.
Shocker! It's simple. A rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency, and you have global central bankers that are absolutely committed to destroying the rest of the currency. Now, what do people pay attention to? They'll look at gold wherever it is and just kind of staying in a range or going down, and they're like, I don't want that. Give me something that's going up. So that is why you are not seeing gold perform the way you would normally see it, or you would expect to see it perform. But this is not new. When the central banks and the governments need gold to go to its fundamental value is when they reset the currency against it. That is our opportunity to buy. That's why we can. What?
Previous to them resetting it against is our opportunity to buy.
Exactly, because we know what the fundamental value is. It's a whole lot higher than this. If they reset it today, just like you saw in Venezuela, it goes to the moon on a Lorna Doone. So you want to make sure that you take advantage of this just like the central bankers are. So yesterday, I was actually on with Neil McCoy Ward on his channel, and the interview, actually, this was a two-parter, and it was really good because the first part was on universal basic income, and we just really, I did go off on a couple tangents a little bit, but pretty much we just focused on that, so that was really good. And then the second one is on the central bank digital currencies. So I thought it was a great interview. I really enjoyed it, and I think you will as well.
Yeah, those are questions that we get a lot of, so I'm sure that'll be good.
You would definitely want to see them. The links, will put them on the socials as well as on our blog. And then tomorrow, I don't know when this is going to be out yet, but I'll be on with Mark Moss on his YouTube channel. So I'm very excited about that because I always like reaching a new audience. So lots of good stuff coming up.
And Mark Moss does a lot of good content too.
Yes, he does.
I like his stuff.
Yes, he does.
I think you'll have fun with that one.
Absolutely. And next week, I'm going to be on Spiritually Inspired with Claudia Morgan. So another new channel, and I'm excited about it because it looks like I'm going to get to talk about some other things. Who knows what anybody's going to ask me? That's what I love so much. But don't forget that we now have an ITM podcast. Yay! Been working on this for years. So excited. So you can listen to us anytime, anywhere, without interruption on your favorite podcast platform. And just make sure that for our socials, everything is linked below and on our blog for real-time information, updates, and behind the scenes. And I've gotten, actually, Edgar, I've gotten some great feedback that you've been doing some great behind the scenes on Instagram is where you mostly focus that, and Twitter. So, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Hit that bell. We'll let you know when we're going live. And if you like this, please give us a thumbs up. And these days, because of where we are in this trend cycle, it is more important to share these videos than it ever has been before. And it's just going to get more and more and more important. So, try it. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. But if you keep giving him the water long enough, maybe they'll take a little sip. You never know. So keep in mind, it is absolutely time to cover your assets. And here at ITM Trading, we use the Wealth Shield. And best shields are made of, especially for wealth, physical gold, physical silver, but some other things as well, which we'll be talking more about in the near future. So until next we speak, please be safe out there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.